Optimizing trades by capital constraints.
All right, here we go. 7 slides. 1 of 7. When aiming to gain exposure to a particular underlying, the limiting factor is the buying power requirement of the trade.
Huh. Weren't we just talking about that?
Yes. Yes. Perfect timing.
I did not look at this. Expensive underlyings are tradable with virtually any account size, but the appropriate strategy is going to depend on the total buying power of a portfolio.
This is perfect. This is great for a Monday show. Let's compare the buying power reduction requirements for different types of neutral strategies.
Okay, so here's the study. I'm just going to go through most of this because it's pretty easy. So 2015, so 10 years of data, SPY, short 45 DTE contracts, okay? Managed at 21 DTE, pretty standard.
Okay, compare the average BPR as a multiple of underlying price upon entry for the following positions: 10 delta, 16 delta, 20 delta, 30 delta, Strangles, and iron condors with 16 delta short strikes and long wings of 5 delta, 10 delta, 13 delta. So they're using delta here, but when you're looking at these studies and you're trying to back test something, like, you've got to put in a delta. So they're taking a look at, having the longs at 5 delta, 10 delta, 13 delta.
And this is all in SPY. Keep that in mind. So the premiums will be there. So a lot of times when we're looking at something, if you're looking at a delta, you're like, oh, you're not getting enough credit. There's no common sense. You're going to get enough premium in all of these deltas. Okay, for short strangles, so both sides, the average buying power reduction underlying price ratio ranged from 17 to 21, meaning that these strategies would require roughly 10,000 to 12,000, and it's 10,200, 12,600 in buying power if SPY is trading at 600. So let's look at that down there.
Okay, yeah, right. So selling Strangles in SPY, it's not cheap, right? It's not cheap. Think about when we started the show, how much buying power Strangle in SPY was. Not much. And but now with SPY at 600, 10 to 12,000 for Strangle in SPY.
Yeah, but you're going to be getting a decent return on those, right? So if you're going to go in SPY, and so you're 45 days out and you're doing, I'm just going to say the 10 delta. I'm just going to glance at my account and tell you how much you're getting for that 10 delta. You're getting $3 on the 10 delta put. So you're getting
probably $1.50 on the call. So you're $450 using 10 to 12,000.
Yeah. So you're going to get paid for it too, though.
Right, yeah. So again, SPY is a higher price now, is using more buying power, but you're getting more premium. Let's move on to, and so when you look at the average buying power underlying price, it's either 17x or 18x or 19x or 21x, depending on the delta. So with the higher delta, you're taking in more of a credit, but it's also, then you're at the higher end of the buying power.
And you are at the high end. It's kind of, in the words of Dr. Jim, for every gimme, there's a gotcha.
Yeah. All right, varying the deltas of these strategies has a fairly small impact on the buying power requirements of the trade, meaning that Strangles with expensive underlyings are generally unsuitable for smaller accounts, right? Because smaller accounts don't want to tie up $12,000 in one Strangle.
Is this very TP-esque? Because I remember you've had him on before, and he's like, well, just keep bringing it up because your buying power isn't changing that much. It is 17%, 17 times to 21 times is a lot, but it's not that crazy much more.
He'll always tweak the strikes, looking at buying power and theta, trying to watch where his theta per day is the greatest compared to his buying power. So
that's what he's looking at, is theta per day, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes he's bringing his deltas way up because of the theta per day.
So again, short Strangle delta and average buying power over the underlying price
is not changing too much. That's why a lot of times you're going to bring it in. Where it seems kind of counterintuitive. If I'm taking in such a low credit, you're so far out with your deltas, but sometimes it makes sense to bring it in a little bit, take a
greater credit in when you're using that much buying power.
When you're using that much buying power. I don't know if that's what's going to be the
I don't know,
because I didn't get to the takeaways yet.
I don't know. I didn't look at the end. Let's see. Next slide. Slide 5, please.
Okay. Comparatively, iron condors with the same underlying have significantly lower buying power requirements. Correct. Depending on the long wing width. They should have. Anytime you're in an iron condor, it should have significantly.
An iron condor would require about $600 to $4,000 in buying power if SPY was trading at 600, making it much more appropriate for expensive underlyings and smaller accounts. And here you can see the closest to the strangle is the 5 delta wings, because those are the furthest out wings. But if you've got 13 delta wings or 10 delta wings, your average buying power over underlying price is decreased like exponentially. I mean, you're only using 1x or 3x versus 18x or 20x.
And this is kind of what we were talking about with Dr. Jam, but this is a higher price product. So here, it's very rare that I would just be selling. Here, you almost have to define your risk, especially in our account. And I'm going from that perspective of our account. Jenny and I trade every day, and almost a little bit more than a Tasty Bites account, but you have to be very, very, very conscious of your capital. You don't want to only have 3 trades in, right? You need to get your numbers of occurrences up. So sometimes you have to, anytime we trade SPY, it's defined risk.
Right. So if you're in a Tasty Bites account, you're not going to be able to sell those Strangles. You're going to be looking at these defined risk. And we were just talking about this with Dr. Jim. If someone wants naked options, and if they prefer naked options, stick to lower price products. If you want to trade SPY, if you want to trade the ETFs, and you want to do a neutral Strangle, then I would spread it off.
Yeah, you almost have to if you have a smaller account.
All right, optimizing trades by capital constraints. The choice of long delta for the Iron Condor also has a much larger impact on the buying power of the trade compared to the choice of short delta for the Strangle.
So this makes it fairly versatile strategy, offering a high pop, high buying power profiles for larger accounts and lower pop, lower buying power reduction profiles for smaller ones. It does make it so Iron Condors are a very versatile strategy. I'll put a gold star on that one, because you can make whatever risk reward scenario you want in there, and you can kind of retrofit it for yourself.
And this is almost taking me back years and years and years when we had Robin come on as a rising star, and she turned her husband's IRA into, had such profits in there, and all she was doing were SPY Iron Condors.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't remember how wide she was, but she was spreading them off because you could, and for the capital constraints of them.
And there are people who this is what they like. They like this,
Okay.
And there are many choices depending on your account size.
But don't you think, Jenny, and I know we were kind of talking about the decision tree, so it's kind of fresh in my brain right now, but when I'm putting something in SPY and I'm buying something just for capital, a lot of times I'm not looking at that as an Iron Condor, but you know what I'm saying? If you have
Right.
a wide Iron Condor, that is, in my mind, a naked position.
It's a synthetic strangle. Strangle. It's not like, how TP has his guidelines of collect a third of the width or collect this much. You need to get X percent of the spread width. If you're buying wings just as a little bit of buying power relief, you could treat it more like a naked strangle, where if your put's getting tested, you might want to roll that call down, or you make it tight enough where it is defined risk and you are getting a third of the width of the strikes, and you treat it more like a defined risk trade.
Right. So there are so many caveats to this, and there's nothing wrong with Iron Condors. There is nothing wrong with Iron Condors. But we were just talking about how we prefer naked options.
But you look at this, it makes sense spreading it off, I think.
It does make sense. Yeah, for sure.
Because when we were talking about the naked options, we were talking more of individual products. There's a difference. I have a different trading style if I'm trading, SPY or SPX than I do if I'm trading individual equities.
I know.
Or commodities.
100%.
Yeah.
It's a completely different. It's almost, you need that as part of your decision tree too. What product is it? Because there are certain products that I won't trade naked with Tom's money.
Right. That's a good point. What product is it? All right. Last slide, please, John.
Okay, the takeaways. Expensive underlyings are tradable with virtually any account size, but the appropriate strategy is going to depend on the total buying power of the portfolio. That makes sense.
Okay, strangles with expensive underlyings are generally unsuitable for smaller accounts, regardless of delta.
True that, Gad. Okay, and then comparatively, the buying power requirements for Iron Condors are very sensitive to wing width and offer high pop, high BPR profiles for larger accounts and lower pop, lower BPR profiles for smaller ones.